Here at home, with the economy yet to reopen fully, business groups and some government agencies are working to bring back jobs. The tourism sector is one of the hardest hit during this pandemic. Now, one member of Congress is calling for more support for tourism and culture-based livelihoods to help indigenous communities. Joining us tonight is House Deputy Speaker and Antique Representative Loren Legarda. Kong Loren, thank you so much for joining us. Tourism is a key source of income for the indigenous communities in the country. How challenging has this pandemic been for them?
Good evening, Rico. Just call me Loren, please.
Okay.
You're correct. Tourism is a big money maker for the economy, and culture-based livelihoods, micro and small and medium enterprises, it can also be the engine of the local economies. I come from a province of 18 municipalities where the mountains meet the sea, and we have indigenous peoples groups. We have the Iraynon Bukidnon, and we have the Atis as well. Before the pandemic, they would do many handicrafts. They would do many artisanal products, and I would bring them even to Metro Manila in the Department of Trade and Industry, National Arts and Crafts Fair. They would even have exhibits of their wares in Robinson's in the capital town of San Jose and Antique. And even before I became Congresswoman of the Lone District of the province of Antique, as senator, I had pushed for more culture-based livelihoods. In fact, this is based on a long ago law which I authored, which is a tropical fabric law, which mandates the promotion of the use of our indigenous textiles and fabrics like piña, pineapple, abaca, and banana, and many others. And this led to the establishment of the first and only permanent textile gallery in the National Museum. You are an art collector. You are a culture aficionado and advocate. And you see how important it is to protect, to conserve our tangible and intangible heritage.
But Loren,
yes.
I'd like to jump in here, no? Because the health crisis is not only hurting the indigenous communities, but also the influx of imported machine-woven blankets and garments with Cordillera weave patterns from overseas. This is undercutting their business as well.
You're correct. First, even before the pandemic, being indigenous and living in the far-flung areas, either coastal areas or in the mountains, no? Some live in the poblations, yes, but they're already deprived sometimes and a vulnerable sector. And especially during the pandemic, if it hit us, those living in the urban areas, those living in the cities, those who have jobs, what more, those who are already considered vulnerable. And remember, that's 14 million of the 108 million Filipinos. And third, you're correct. The counterfeit products which came in really undercuts the kind of difficult, tenuous process that they do. What I'm wearing, for example, this is hand-woven. Each and every piece of the patadyong textile, which is made in Antique, the hablon, let's say, of Iloilo, the abel of the Cordillera, the piña of Aklan, the banana fiber of many other areas, and the beautiful woven textiles and beadwork as well of Mindanao. Let's say so many of our indigenous peoples have their own kind of crafts and there. You see, I'm trying to do embroidery in the pictures which are being shown. But there were importers. I'm not certain if they were legal, but they brought in this fake garments and textiles which they passed on as Cordillera textiles. Even Mindanao textiles were victimized in a way, and they were dumped.
So Loren, you have authored a bill safeguarding the traditional property rights of indigenous peoples. How soon could this become law to protect our indigenous communities' cultural properties? And and cut back on these counterfeit goods that are entering the country.
It's a bill whose time has come. You know, I filed it ever since I was in the Senate in 2012. Natapos na yung termino ko noong 2019. And then I refiled it, the Traditional Property Rights of Indigenous Peoples Act, back in 2012. So I filed it again. It's House Bill 7811, I recall. And its passage now is more critical following news reports of fakery and counterfeit textiles misappropriating weaves from the Cordilleras. And this fakery has also was also done to fabrics in Mindanao. So it is timely, and it is important that we promote this culture-based livelihoods, because I believe this is one of the more important sectors that can be promoted for the pandemic recovery as well. You know, there are many programs of government that give support to micro-enterprises. There's a DTI Shared Services Facilities. There's a DOLE Pangkabuhayan. There's even a DOST Community Empowerment through Science and Technology. Ang dami-dami. There's a Sustainable Livelihood Program of the DSWD. If our IPs in different parts of the country, the picture being shown now are the women of Sibutu Island in Tawi-Tawi, whom I brought to the National Museum for the opening of the Gamaba Gallery. Gamaba are the manlilikan ng bayan awardees, are traditional artisans who were awarded by the National Commission on Culture and the Arts.
Loren,
Yes.
have the indigenous communities been supported by the stimulus packages that have been passed by both houses of Congress and signed into law by President Duterte, Bayanihan 1, Bayanihan 2, and now even Bayanihan 3, which is worth more than 400 billion pesos? Will our indigenous peoples receive anything from this to support them during these difficult times?
We know that there are cash subsidies, cash packages, and those who are already 4P families are automatically part of the Bayanihan 1, 2, and we recently passed Bayanihan 3. However, I believe it's never enough. Kung ang mga tao na nasa syudad ay nagkukulang, paano pa ba naman ang ating mga katutubo sa kabundukan? Una, yung access sa kanilang mga lugar. Pangalawa, nakatala ba ang kanilang mga pangalan at ang kanilang mga pamilya. So I believe that first, by giving them assistance from the regular programs of government for capital assistance, because their artistry, their imagination, their skill, their talent, it's simply overflowing. And pandemic or no pandemic, I believe that we must preserve, conserve, protect, and promote, and even document the tangible and intangible heritage of our indigenous people. And yes, they must benefit from all the Bayanihan legislation we did, but we realize that funds and resources may never be enough. But it's been my advocacy, and I've tried my best, and I believe that we have set up many weaving centers through the National Commission on Culture, through the National Museum, even in setting up textile galleries of the weaves of our indigenous people in different branches of the National Museum all over the country. So I think what they're showing now is what we did in the Yakan village in Zamboanga. I used to go there way back 20 plus years ago when I saw that it needed repair. So we helped in making it a very pretty village, which it is now, and we were able to do that before the pandemic. So this is just some photos of the work more than 20 years that I've been doing, whether with the indigenous peoples of the Cordillera or even with Region 4B in the Mindoro provinces, or in Panay where I'm from, and even in Mindanao. So there's so much to be done, and the assistance to be given to them can be secured from the various ongoing programs of government, which I mentioned earlier.
House Deputy Speaker and Antique Representative Loren Legarda, thank you so much for joining us on The Final Word.